Hey guys, we're back on the 2002 this weekend. I am working on the spark plug repair. So here's what I got to attempt to repair before I pull the cylinder head off. This is just a OEM Tools spark plug repair system for M14 125. This is the tap we're going to attempt to use. They say you don't have to drill it, so I don't know if I'm going to have enough engagement to pull this down until it meets this larger thread, but we'll see what happens. If we do, then we'll be able to use this, thread that down inside, and then this to expand the top of it, and then our spark plug will thread down in that way. So we're going to try this, see what happens. I'll show you along the way. Alright, so here's where we're at with the head on the M42. It's stripped out. I realized that even though this 19, sorry, that's a 17. I think there's a 3/4 or a 19 that originally fit. This tap would go partially down inside of the cylinder head. And I thought, excuse me, I thought that when this was in here and it was down in there, that the tap was bottoming out in the hole, and that was as far as I was going. Well, come to find out, the socket was actually stopping partial of the way down in the cylinder head. So anyway, I had to, the smallest socket that would fit down in the hole was a 17. So I wasn't going to be able to modify the 3/4 to fit down in the hole where the 17 would be, 19 down into a 17. So I ended up modifying this tap. I cut it down to where it would fit most of the way down inside that socket. So anyway, that's all done. Not helicoil, well, it's like a helicoil, but it's the insert style. Sorry, having a brain fart. Not a helicoil, but a time cert, basically, is what these are. The one I needed was full length for the plug. Anyway, it's down inside the hole now. It tightened up. I used this high temp Loctite to hold the insert in place, and it's going to go back together. So I will probably put the valve cover back on so I can get that back together and keep. valve cover is installed. Hopefully that won't have to come back off. Spark plugs are in and all the bolts are tight, so I'll move on. Took my wife's X1 to Cleveland yesterday to pick up this transmission for the 2002. This is the E30 318 trans that we're going to be using with this. No matter what I did with the E36 5-speed, it just wasn't going to fit in the tunnel. Most notably, the slave cylinder just was not going to work without some major modifications to the tunnel, and I didn't want to do that. So this guy is pretty crusty, but I think I'll clean it up, and I got to pull the trans, or the engine and the trans, back out of the car. I'll show you side by side once I get to that point, but I think this is the transmission we're going to be using going forward with this project. So I'll show you as I go along. Just doing some random bits here and there on what kind of feels good. It's late on a Sunday, and just kind of messing around rather than pulling the engine and then the transmission to do that trans swap. Just not wanting to do that right now. So anyway, I removed the old master cylinder. I do need to order another Tesla brake booster. This one would probably work, but this one's mine. So I'm gonna purchase another one for this car. I had one picked out on eBay, but it sold. So I need to find another one. I need one that has the reservoir, the small reservoir on the bottom, because it'll be upside down, and then it comes up to another one. I at least need the bottom one. I like to find one with a harness, because if I have to purchase the harness separately, it's $100. So I just can't find a junkyard that still has it in the car so that I can get the pieces that I need. They've all been already pulled off, and sometimes they don't have the reservoir with them. Some of them do. Most of them definitely do not have a harness, so they're all just unplugged. So, and this one has been banged up, and like I say, I'd rather hang on to it for future projects. This is the radiator that we got. This is an all-one-piece aluminum one. This is a E36 M42 style 318 that has the reservoir built into it. So I think I can make this work. The only problem fitment-wise I have right this moment is here, and then I think down here I'm going to have to trim this because the level sensor goes in right here, and it's into the sheet metal here. So I think I'll trim the sheet metal there and see what we end up with. I think I got this radiator where I want it. There is a 2-inch spout fan that I think will fit. I've got about 2¼ inches between the crank pulley and the radiator. So you'll see I trimmed this here, kind of did the same thing on the other side, and I'll pull this out and I'll show you what I did. I don't know if you can see. I needed to trim a little bit of the sheet metal here. I drilled a hole there and a hole over here. Pushed the sheet metal back a little bit there. Trimmed that up there. Those holes will match up to these mounts right there. So I think that all went pretty well. I trimmed this here for the level sensor. I'll clean up all the edges and touch them all up with some paint, and I still want to make some sort of a mount here and here to hold the top of the radiator in, but for the most part it stays in there pretty well. I will probably make a little rubber pad or something so that the radiator will sit down on the rubber and be isolated just a little bit, but I think that's going to work for that. I wanted to go ahead and fit the radiator hoses. Classic Dailies has a couple of part numbers that he uses, and then so I picked those up, and I wasn't happy with how they fit, so I went to the auto parts store, got a couple hoses. I used some hangers to kind of recreate like the basic shape of what I was trying to do, and the ends. And a lot of parts stores don't have like hose walls anymore. I did find some O'Reillys near me that both have a pretty good selection, and they're all hanging, so you can just go pick out what you need. So anyway, this is what I ended up with. I got the radiator hose, and the lower hose was a pain because it's super snug right here. It needs to, you know, come out, up, and angle this way. I ended up with a Gates 23799 for the lower hose and a 23018 for the upper hose. So I think those will work. Cut them down, trim them up just a little bit, and the diameter seemed to be correct on both ends, so that worked out. This is what I got going on for the heater hoses. This is an aftermarket hose I found, 19684. I trimmed up the factory 2002 hose, and it comes around here. This is a factory mold. It's a little bit tighter than it would normally be. I'll wait till I get everything else on, and then I may shorten this up here, and I think or rotate this a little bit. I don't know. I'll make it work. Anyway, this is the factory E36 hose, I think, and then this is obviously the factory 2002 hose. That'll match up. I just need another 3/4 inch barb on both ends to make that work, so I got to order one of those. But other than that, I think that'll work fine. The only other hose I still have to work on is going to be whatever this bypass hose or whatever that runs to this here, but I want to wait until I get, like this so you can see, wait until I get more stuff in here, because it doesn't make any sense to try to route that hose because there's too much stuff left to put in the car. So anyway, I think that is going to about do it. This engine's got to come back out of the car to swap this trans, so that's probably what I'm going to work on next. Well, that sucks. Just stripped the bolt out for the clutch. Stupid little 6mm Allens. Dumb. Third time's a charm for this junk. I don't know why the nut didn't work. I haven't had very good luck with that lately. I must not be getting it hot enough. Anyway, welded a bolt to the bolt head and it came right out. So let's get the rest of this off. So this looks really wet in here, so I'm assuming the rear main seal is leaking. So I'm going to remove the flywheel and see if I can get a rear main seal real quick for it. And I need to look at this flywheel a little closer and talk to my buddy and see if he wants me to replace this or not. It's got a little bit of scorching to it and it's not completely smooth, so we may want to put a flywheel on this while we have it apart. I guess I need to look at this. The rear main seal doesn't really seem to be puking, but obviously there's a ton of oil around here, so maybe this plate has a gasket. I'll have to look at the parts catalog. Maybe that's where it's leaking from, but I feel like I'm here. Like, there makes no sense not to replace this stuff, because obviously something is leaking, so let's maybe take this off and see what it looks like. So from what I can gather, there's a gasket that goes on. I can't do two things with two hands. There's a gasket that's supposed to go here and here, and I'm assuming it looks like it's supposed to be a metal gasket, and there's like remnants of like a paper gasket maybe, but from what I can find online, it looks like there was a metal gasket that was supposed to go there, so I'm hoping that's why this thing was puking. I'm trying to find one this weekend, but obviously this isn't a super popular thing. Looks like there might be one across town, so I may try to go get that tomorrow if I can get this other trans ready to go back in. So assuming that, depending on whether we want to do anything with this flywheel or not, I don't know yet. This is the E36 trans that I just pulled out. It looks super nice, and I would love to run it, but like I said, it doesn't fit in the car very well. It's kind of difficult to see. It looks like the placement of the slaves is kind of in the same spot, but if you look closely, this one bulks out like this way, and it's running the tunnel, and it's like smashed in the tunnel right here where the hose needs to go. So it's just, without beating the tunnel up, I just don't want to run it. So this one over here, it's a little bit further down and in. I got a new slave. I'll pull it out and see where it fits up. I wanted to give a shout out to my buddy Charlie for sending me another really nice used part that, you know, looks like it's been rust preventative with all this oil and gunk. So I will spend some more of my time and clean that up. I did get a new shift shaft seal. I can't talk. So anyway, pull this off, put a new seal in there. I'm gonna hope that the output shaft seal is okay. That can probably be done at later. I didn't get one of those, and I don't really want to take this apart. So anyway, I'm going to clean this gunky little guy up and see where we're at. This is the shifter here, and this is the piece that comes off. This oversized snap ring has to either come forward or backward, and this pin gets pushed down through, and then it slides right off. So I'll get this cleaned up, see if I can get this seal out. Got this junky old seal off of here. Basically just used small pry bar to hammer through it, and then a little bit bigger one to get it out. So get this cleaned up and see if I can get the new one installed. everybody. I think this is about going to do it for this episode. We decided to replace the flywheel on this. My buddy that owns the car has a lightweight flywheel that he wants to put in it, so we're going to go ahead and do that. He's going to ship it down to me from Cleveland, and we're going to install that. I think the clutch, the pressure plate and the clutch disc is going to be fine, so I'm going to wait on that before I get this transmission back in the car. I did get this all cleaned up. If you saw in the time lapse, I shaved this down. That allows for clearance in the tunnel. I was going to cut this down. That's what Classic Dailies has you do to get the length correct for the shifter. I did measure from the trans when it was in the car to where I need this location, but I don't trust my measurements, so I'm going to wait until I get the engine and the trans back in the car and then measure from this point. And you'll also see I did get those tapped. So once I get the measurement correct, I can cut this down, mount these to here, and then this will get mounted up to here so that this plate gets oriented correctly. I also saw I cut that down. That is for the drag link clearance. I think that's the right position. I should have looked at the instructions, but I didn't. So I got a new slave cylinder installed. So I think we'll be ready to go back in the car once I get the rear main seal replaced. Then I can reinstall the new flywheel and the old clutch, get the transmission installed, and throw it back in the car and see where we're at. Hoping this transmission fits better than that one. So anyway, I appreciate you watching. If you have comments, if they're good, bad, whatever, I'll take anything. So thanks for watching, and I'll post another episode hopefully here in a couple weeks so I get some more work done on this thing. Thanks.